Hi, everyone. This is Emmy, Caitlin, and Adrian, and we did methods for scientific inquiry ethnography. So what ethnography is a research method known for its ability to display the everyday practices and routines within healthcare settings, giving understanding into how patient care can be improved. So what they do is researchers are engaged in the community, observing and sometimes participating in daily activities. It's informal and formal interviews that are conducted to gather different perspectives. Detailed records are kept of observations, interactions, and experiences, and the data is then interpreted to understand cultural practices, beliefs, and social interactions. And this is just a quick little layout of how the method is done. So ethnography is qualitative research. It involves observations of people and environments, and it provides detailed written accounts of everyday behaviors and ideas. Ethnographic research is useful for identifying environmental barriers to healthcare improvement. And the reason why it is qualitative is it provides observations of people's lives and behaviors, shows how the environment affects behavior and culture, and the research can adapt as new ideas emerge.
The steps of ethnography is first, you're going to identify your research question. This can be done by asking questions that you want to ask and not that of someone else. Talking to others about your research project and consulting different sources for ideas can be helpful. Step 2, assess your current knowledge about the research area. You need to assess how much you know about the subject area. Identify your research setting. Step 3. The first question is knowing and deciding where to begin. The setting should permit for clear observation. It should also be helpful to select a setting that you can really fit into. But this does not mean that you're going to immediately be familiar with the setting. Step 4, gain access. You will need to meet with the gatekeepers or those that will allow you to have access to your setting. How do you get into a group that you wish to study? You may need to ask for a formal permission, which will be facilitated if you have a friend who can vouch for you. You can also get your foot in the door if you first participate in the group as a volunteer, not as a researcher. Step 5, presenting yourself. You will need to decide how you will present yourself to those in the field. Will you be conducting covert research? What roles will you adopt to relate to others? How active will you be in participating in the people's lives? If you present yourself as a researcher, will the others be able to accept you in their daily lives? Step 6, gathering and recording information. Sometimes it can be difficult to record and gather data at the same time. What are the types of information that should be recorded or taken as field notes? If you cannot fully record your observations while you are in the field, what should you do? Anyways, always carry a notepad for brief jotting. Sometimes there is no alternative but to wait and record observations after you leave the setting. You should record the observations as soon as possible to minimize recall problems. You may also rely on equipment such as audio recorders and video cameras. Step 7, data analysis and interpretation. You need to understand all your material. The process of understanding is indicative of which you will begin to learn by. From the data, rather than starting with a preconceived notion, you need to research and follow your subject matter. The data analysis should also begin while the data is being collected so that researchers can discover any additional themes and decide whether to follow those leads for more intense investigation.
Next, we're going to look at an example of an ethnography. The title of the study was called Beyond Technology Acceptance, a focused ethnography on the implementation, acceptance, and use of new nursing technology in a German hospital. The study was done by Flawan et al. In 2024, and they were looking to understand the usage and acceptance of newer technology in the nursing field. In order to do this, first they had volunteers who went in and observed the nurses and the patients interacting with the technology, and they recorded what they observed, and then the researchers used this qualitative evidence and analyzed it. Second, the nurses filled out surveys about technology use and how helpful they thought it was. The results from the study, there were 7 different types of technology that were studied, and the researchers were able to put them into 4 categories. First, the specialized mattresses, projector, and specialized pillows were accepted by nurses because they improved the quality of the care and they were easy to use. Second, there was a fall prevention system that was frequently used, but that was more because it was required, and nurses found it was error prone, so it was not very accepted. The third technology is interactive therapy ball, and it was accepted by the nurses, but not used often because of their workload demands. They didn't have time to use it. And then the last category was the app for communication and equipment tracking systems were not accepted or used by the nurses because they didn't seem to report any practical benefit of using them. So kind of in summary, it showed that the acceptance and usage do not always occur together. And they found that there's often prejudice with new technology, and people need time and space to adapt before they use them. In order for nurses to accept these new technologies, they must feel like there's practical benefits for them. This study was an ethnography because it was attempting to understand the culture and customs of a particular group. In this case, it was a group of nurses and how they felt about new technology. Also, it used field work and to observe the nurses as well as survey them.
The challenges and limitations can be that reactivity is a degree in which your presence as a researcher influences the behavior of others because they know they are in the study, and it may cause those understudied to act differently. Number 2, reliability. In field research, addressing the question of whether you could collect data that is internally and externally consistent and credible can be a challenge. Validity. In field research is the confidence placed in your ability to collect and analyze data accurately, representing the lives and the cultures under study. Validity can be checked in multiple ways to ensure that the confidence in your credibility is valid. Additionally, it can be time-consuming for those doing the research. It can be difficult to balance both participating and observing. Fieldwork lacks a level of structure and control that you would normally find in laboratory studies. And field research settings, the researcher is personally involved, which can cause issues with confidentiality and privacy.